Jusitn Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM. Next week, the TBT on WING returns, and we're excited to be carrying all Ohio State Carmens Crew games, of course, and a couple of the guys on the roster, former players of Chris Holtmann, and that's who's joining us now, Ohio State head basketball coach Chris Holtmann. Coach, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Justin. Good to be with you. I hope your summer's going well.
Absolutely. Look, before we get to the TBT stuff, more than coach speak, your podcast, I found this very unique and very interesting because, especially the title, but not a lot of coaches like to talk or like to, risk maybe saying something that could be taken and used as bulletin board material, if you will. What motivated you to get behind the podcast idea?
I enjoy talking to coaches, and I think whether I'm on the road, I enjoy talking to coaches about coaching. And our profession has changed so much, as you know, and it's evolved in so many different ways. And some would say not so good ways. Others would say great ways. I think there's been some real positives with NIL, maybe some challenges with the transfer portal. But more than anything, I enjoy talking to coaches who I feel like can, help me grow. For me, I want to continually figure out how to do this thing and do it better. And that was my prime motivation, as well as doing something that might be a benefit to other coaches who are getting into the profession. So it's been, it's been a good thing. And, I don't know what the numbers are like because that's not why I did it. I just put it out there and hopefully people have enjoyed it.
Yeah, so you had Jeff Van Gundy. You've had Ryan Day on, which was pretty neat. But yeah, you've had some big names on, obviously. Ryan Day, that was pretty cool seeing the crossover with you two. That's pretty neat. Are you going to keep doing it during the season, or is this just like an off-season venture?
It'll be more of an off-season. We'll tape here in the off-season, try to stack up some shows, and then our producer, who's a student, can release some. But I won't have any involvement during the season. I've got other things to worry about in the season than a podcast.
No, I definitely get that. Coach, so the TBT next week, Carmens Crew, it's pretty cool. A couple of your former players, the Weston brothers are going to be on there, and obviously Kyle Young. I'm really excited about that. But what's your premise of the TBT? I love nostalgia. I know that the original run of Carmens Crew, there was a lot of guys from back when I played in high school at Van Wert. We ran into, obviously, Aaron Kraft. We ran into William Buford and John Diebler and Costa Kufis, a lot of those guys. And now there's that second wave of players coming through. I know William Buford's on this Carmens Crew team from the Thad Matta days, but what's your takeaway? I love the nostalgia feel of these types of tournaments. What's your thoughts on the TBT, especially with this makeup of Carmens Crew?
Oh, the TBT is a great event. It is a great event just for that reason, is fan bases get a chance to watch some of their favorite players again. And you mentioned Will Buford's on there on this team now, kind of one of the older players, coached by Jared Sullinger and his dad, which is a fun thing. And then you have guys like you mentioned, the Wesson brothers, Caleb and Andre, and Kyle Young, and CJ Jackson, Keyshawn Woods. Kyle Young, everybody's going to enjoy seeing him back again, given some of his injuries the latter part of his career. He and I were talking yesterday about our second round game against Villanova to go to the Sweet 16. It was a 2-point game in the last 4 minutes when he got hurt and went down. And at that point, they ended up pulling away. It's a really, really good event. I think it's a great event. TBT has been a great event. It's been a great event for coach, fans, everybody to watch.
Obviously going to be at UD Arena. UD Arena ran into you there for the state tournament. I know you were there taking in some games. Your thoughts on that? I grew up going to the state tournament at the Schott. Like that to me, I know some people like St. John's. Now it's at UD Arena. Obviously a great basketball venue, no doubt about it, UD Arena. I still love the Schott. Don't tell any, in Dayton, people get mad at me for that. That's okay. But what's your thoughts on the state tournament, not being in Columbus anymore, but now over at UD Arena here in Dayton?
Well, we loved it being here. We loved it being in the Schott. And, the Schott's big. It's, nowadays probably too big for a college basketball environment, just given how much has happened. But we've had some incredible crowds. We sell it out every year, a few times every year, 19,000 plus. I loved having the state tournament here at the Schott. Dayton is an incredible fan base. And there's a reason why, the NCAA tournament's there every year. It has an incredible following. It is a great venue there in Dayton, UD Arena, and a tremendous fan base. And I think it's another great option for state tournaments.
We have Coach Holtmann with us here. Kinner and Cav, Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I thought with the TBT next week and Carmen's Crew on 1410 Wing AM, we'd catch up with the Buckeye coach, Mr. Chris Holtmann, who's awesome enough to give us some time today. Real quick, speaking of Dayton, it was a big announcement about a week or 2 weeks ago. It's an exhibition matchup between the Buckeyes and Dayton. But the wrinkle, I think they got everyone's attention, and obviously the charity aspect of it too, Coach, but Ohio State coming to UD Arena. One thing I've always respected about you is, there's always the politics of we're the Ohio State. We don't need to go play in another in-state college venue. You've never been afraid of doing that. You guys opened up at Cincinnati a few years ago. I've always respected that about you and the program. Just talk about what went into kind of organizing that, because, again, a lot of egos get in the way of these types of matchups at times, and it was kind of nice seeing how that wasn't the case in this situation.
Yeah, and I've had people say, what are you doing going and playing at some of these places? Why would you go and do a home and home with Cincinnati? And, I think for us, it makes a lot of sense. I think first and foremost, it makes a lot of sense to bring great awareness around a really important issue in regards to mental health in today's athlete. And Anthony has a story that he can share and that he's willing to share. Coach Grant, he and his family are willing to share, that I think is really, can be really powerful. And I know his only motivation in sharing it is to help other people, help young people, help families navigate everything that's going on with mental health. So he and his family deserve a ton of credit for this, the courage it takes to do this. For me, it was pretty easy when he calls and says, "Hey, Coach, you're the head coach of the Ohio State. It would mean something for you and your team to come here and play. Here's what we're thinking." Easy, all in. Absolutely, we're all in. Whatever you need, and that's kind of how we went about it. We're not asking them to do a return game. Listen, a home and home, I'm not opposed to doing a home and home. I know people think this is like my way of somehow getting out of a home and home. That's far from it. I'm not opposed to it. If schedules align and we can make it work, I would be more than happy to consider it.
Coach, I'm not just saying this because you're on with me today, but I've been a big Chris Holtmann fan. I'm a Chris Holtmann supporter. And last year, obviously, things got a little dicey, the season, a little up and down. And you know that. I mean, that's why when people get uncomfortable bringing that up, you coached it. So it's frustrating, though, because obviously from a fan perspective, it's about wins and losses. And some people don't dive into, okay, what's leading to the wins or what's leading to the losses. We know the youth of your roster last year, and I get it. It's the Ohio State, so the expectation is to win. They don't want to hear excuses. But the reality is very young roster last year. You had to overcome a lot. You guys got hot down the stretch. Very impressive run in the Big Ten tournament. It's so tough to win that many games in that many days, of course. For you, how thick-skinned, how tough mentally do you have to be to keep that locker room intact and for you to continue coaching through some of those struggles last year? And how did you grow from that? And what can we expect from Ohio State and your program heading into this upcoming season?
Yeah, Justin, as you mentioned, thick skin's a requirement for a college coach at this level. Pretty much a college coach at any level of Division I, anytime where there's a great deal of scrutiny, but certainly at this level, you've got to be able to, stay focused on what is most important, because often what feels like is important in some eyes is really not important at all. And I think the discipline to stay focused on what's ultimately most important. And for us, that was growth and the work throughout the season. Last year was very hard. And as I reflect back, as I often have, you're introspective on, okay, what could I have done better? What could we as a staff have done better? And that's the constant conversation. We in some ways it was almost assumed, okay, here's going to be another 20-win season, another NCAA tournament berth, another, time where, we'd kind of been that for the first 5 years. We had been in a couple of those years right up until the last couple of weeks of the season in the Big Ten race at the very end. And, last year it was not that. And we were not good enough in a lot of ways. We were not good enough defensively. We were not efficient enough offensively in Big Ten play. And up until the last 5 weeks, we just were not a good basketball team. We were the last 5 weeks of the year. We hope the scar tissue that comes from those battle wounds can provide some real things for us moving forward, Justin. But that's on us to kind of answer that and to make sure that last year was more of an outlier than anything. When Gene Smith and I looked at, okay, how do we, what do you want to do once we knew we were going to lose EJ and Malachi was going to be a one and done and Kyle Young? It really was, okay, let's go young. Let's figure out if we can put a couple classes together, keep a large portion of them, see where that takes us. So, that while no one expected all the struggles, we did expect some struggles last year.
Coach, last thing on the way out, just because I know people had told me to bring this up, but obviously Bronny James did not ultimately go to Ohio State, but how unique was that? How heavily did you guys recruit him, and how unique of a recruiting process was that? Because just different things we hear of, lack of access and just a very strange situation with the Bronny handling, obviously having Ohio State down to his final two, ultimately going to USC. If you don't mind, and if you can, what was that process like?
Great. LeBron, Savannah, Bronny were unbelievable through the whole process. Now, when you say, when you're recruiting a player his caliber, you're in the last couple of months, you're talking every night, your assistant is, and I'm probably FaceTiming them every couple of days, at least once a week. So we were in regular communication. It wasn't quite maybe to that degree because it was different, when he was busy. LeBron, Savannah, Bronny were unbelievable. Loved the kid. We did a in-person visit here during the Notre Dame game, sat down with LeBron and Savannah and Bronny and, went through some video. We talked about a guy like Malachi Branham's growth. We did multiple, obviously, calls and FaceTimes as well as multiple Zooms. LeBron was incredibly gracious at the end. He did a Zoom the night before he had an important playoff game, right on his couch there, and the three of them. And, I think they legitimately I know they love this place. I know they love the idea of him playing here. I know they were excited about all of that. I think, had maybe, Bronny had a few more connections here in terms of player relationships that he knew prior. He just, you're out there, so you have a lot of connections out there. He knew a couple guys going to USC. I think that was ultimately the factor.
All right, Coach Holtmann, head coach at the Ohio State University. Awesome enough to spend some time with us here today. Coach, will you be here for the TBT next week at UD Arena?
I'm going to try to make at least a game or two. I hope to be there for sure. And if I get a chance to do that, I look forward to saying hello.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Sir, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to chatting soon. Take care.
Sounds great. Thanks, Justin.